All right, Nick, let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a team we love to talk about. We love the moves they've been making lately. And I think they're kind of being justified with one of the biggest moves they made last season. It's all kind of coming to fruition, and they're really, really starting to make a turn in the right direction, and people are starting to notice how it has affected the team.
Yeah, Miles, when you first showed me this report, I was really blown away. I think Steelers fans will be really excited to hear this. But before we get to that report, Pittsburgh fans, we want to hear from you guys, as we always like to, in the comment section below. Got a really interesting question for you today. This is a Steelers franchise that in its history has had a number of elite level all-time great quarterbacks. But we don't want to hear who your favorite starting quarterback is in Steelers history. We want to hear who your favorite backup is. Who is the best number two man, the best quarterback understudy in Pittsburgh Steelers history? Let us know in the comment section below. And please stick around to the end of today's video to hear a word from our partner with today's video, Neuro. All right, Miles, what you got? What's the latest out of Pittsburgh?
Yeah, Nick. So there is a big article happened a couple days ago, and the article has come out talking about starting quarterback Kenny Pickett, the Pittsburgh Steelers. He has met with one of his biggest critics, and that was none other than legendary Steelers quarterback Terry Bradshaw. Now, we all know that Terry Bradshaw at the beginning was not a huge fan of Kenny Pickett, but after this meeting, Nick, I have the quote, and I'm going to let it speak for itself, okay? It says, recently, Terry Bradshaw had a chance to meet new Steelers QB Kenny Pickett in person. If Bradshaw wasn't the biggest supporter of the young quarterback prior to his first face-to-face interaction with Pickett, he is now. In a Facebook post, Bradshaw gushed over Pickett. We will see if he keeps this same energy throughout the season, but Pickett, meanwhile, is continuing to work on his craft in preparation to make a big second-year leap, Nick. Now, this is huge. Terry Bradshaw can be kind of, controversial, really hard on young quarterbacks. But he notably was not the biggest fan of Kenny Pickett at first. But now, once he met him face to face, I think this speaks a lot about Kenny Pickett's leadership, his demeanor, his personality. Terry Bradshaw loves this guy. He thinks that he is the right guy going forward. There's a picture on the article of them embracing. It just shows that Kenny Pickett kind of really can win over Terry Bradshaw. He can win over anyone on this Steelers team. And that's the kind of leader that you want in your locker room, Nick. I think this is a really interesting piece here. What do you think about this interaction with Bradshaw and Pickett?
Yeah, so 2 points. First of all, you kind of alluded to it, Miles. Bradshaw is no stranger to being honest, blunt, and critical of people, even big names, even very successful people. He, of course, last year criticized Aaron Rodgers publicly. He did it on all accounts. I think that was reported by Sporting News. According to CBS News, he was very critical of Tom Brady going to Tampa a number of years ago. Again, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, two of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. To have a fellow all-time great quarterback in Bradshaw attack him shows you that Bradshaw isn't afraid to voice his opinion. And when it comes to going after and potentially criticizing Pittsburgh Steelers, you mentioned his prior relationship with Kenny Pickett. He's also gone after other great Steelers. Of course, he was very critical of Mike Tomlin, according to Bleacher Report back in 2016 as well. So long story short here, Bradshaw is not a guy who's afraid to speak his mind. He's very blunt. He's very direct. He has that sort of Charles Barkley aspect to him. So the fact he's come out here publicly and gushed in such very high praise towards Kenny Pickett is a great sign that Kenny Pickett, is kind of taking that next step, or already had the abilities to be a great leader, like you alluded to, Mize. And that kind of goes into my second point. People forget when we look at quarterback position, and this time of year we see it in the draft and the pro day prospects, is that all these guys seem to everyone just falls in love with the guy with the big arm, right? The guy who can throw it 80 yards, the Richardsons of the world, the Levises of the world, or the guy that can run a 4.8 40, or the guy who can make the acrobatic throw, or do all those kind of things, right? Those are the guys we fall in love with. We forget that the quarterback position is almost like a manager of a football, of a business, right? It's like a guy who's got to manage personalities. He's got to distribute the football. Like, football's such a weird sport, right? Because literally every single play starts before the play. The entire team on the field gets into a huddle, because literally has a committee meeting where they talk about what they're going to do and then go out and do it. Like, that is it's bonkers when you think about it that way. And to have one guy, the quarterback, in charge of that has to have the quality of being able to relate and connect and direct the other 10 guys on the football field. That's something a lot of evaluators miss in this process. The mental aspects of the quarterback position, not just understanding X and O's, but understanding the human element of it, is criminally underrated. I think Kenny Pickett going into a meeting with Terry Bradshaw and impressing him like this, because Bradshaw, to a man, is considered like a legit football guy, like an old school football dude. He's not one of these analytics nerds guys. That's the exact opposite of what Bradshaw is at this point as a commentator. So to go into a meeting with Bradshaw and impress him shows me that Kenny Pickett has an incredibly high emotional IQ. And that's just as important as having high level arm talent, just as important as understanding X's and O's. Because when it comes to being an elite level quarterback, it's about managing people and personalities just as it is completing 5-yard outs. And to me, this is a great sign for Kenny Pickett going forward.
Yeah, Nick, as you say, I love it because the old adage, it's not about X's and O's, it's about the Jimmies and Joes. And we all know that's true, but I have one more thing I want to end on here, get your quick opinion from you on it, Nick. That's not the only elite level quarterback that Kenny Pickett has impressed as well. Rich Gannon came out on his XM radio show as well, and he even said, to his credit, now I'm not going to get into the debate on whether this is true or not, but just saying that he impressed Rich Gannon enough to say, Rich Gannon believes that he would take Kenny Pickett over any other quarterback in this year's 2023 QB class. So not only did he impress Bradshaw, not only did he impress Gannon, but Gannon is also saying that he would have been number one on his board in this quarterback class, Nick. I just think if you're a Steelers fan, maybe take it with a grain of salt, but that is a pretty big vote of confidence in your young quarterback.
Oh, 100%, especially when you look at what Rich Gannon was known for. He's another one of these tough, kind of more old school quarterbacks, even though he was obviously much later than Bradshaw. Rich Gannon's claim to fame was understanding offenses, distributing the football, managing people, being kind of like a savvy player, right? It goes back to what I said. Rich Gannon was very, very good at understanding the personalities and being the leader of the offenses that he led during the successful years of his NFL career. He recognizes, in my opinion, a lot of those same characteristics in Kenny Pickett, which will be huge for Pickett going forward. He's going to have to manage George Pickens. George Pickens is an awesome talent, but he's a big personality. He's going to have to manage Deontay Johnson. He's going to have to manage Najee Harris in terms of, getting involved in the running game and also getting involved in the passing game. He's going to have to manage Pat Farmer. He's going to, have to manage Matt Canada. He's going to have to manage up the chain as well. And based on these discussions with Terry Bradshaw and this report from Rich Gannon, it makes me think he has the right amount of emotional intelligence to get it done. I think this is a great sign, both for Kenny Pickett and the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, Miles, we would like to give a special thanks to our partner in today's video, Neuro.
That's right, Nick. And I want you to go with me on a journey really fast. I want you to imagine this. It's 4th and goal in the big game, Nick. Your team is relying on you to make the big-time game-winning play. I know you've been in this situation before, Nick. The stadium is roaring. The clock is ticking. The game is on the line. But if only in that moment you were able to have some Neuro Gum. Neuro Gum will help you stay concentrated, and it gives you a burst of energy without a nasty crash.
That's right, Miles. Neuro has thoughtfully curated ingredients and does endless lab testing, which means that you can reach the right state of mind safely and consistently. That's the most important part. It gives you a clean burst of energy and focus without the jitters of coffee or any of those other energy drinks.
That's right, Nick. And if you click our sponsor link in the description below, you can enjoy energy, calm, and focus whenever you need it.